6:05? It is 6:05 on Thursday, October 7th, 2021. You and I will do it together. There is no worries at all. So the next item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Roll call.
Renisha McNeil,
Here.
Therese Cologne,
Here.
Eric Morissette,
Here.
Chanel Brown. We have a quorum.
Thank you. So the next item is the adoption of the minutes. Want someone to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, second.
Second. Say all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Okay, so additions, deletions, withdrawals. Usually, we will fly right past this on the agenda, but I actually am going to throw you guys for a little loop tonight. We do have some additions for the agenda and withdrawals. So the first addition is Ms. Name is Larita Robinson moved out of the city between our last two meetings. At the end of September, she moved. So she can no longer serve on the board. You have to be a resident of the city to serve. So we do have a vacancy, but as you can see, as long as we have the four of you, three of you need to be here for us to have a quorum, so we have enough to continue on the board. Ms. Robinson was selected to be the vice chair at the last meeting. So I would like to recommend, Madam Chair, for new business, we make item 8.1 the selection of a vice chair. So if you all are okay with adding that to the agenda, we will add that to the agenda and get to that at the end of the meeting. The other issue is you have 5 applications in front of you. We have the applicant here with us tonight. As you saw in the agenda package that you received, the application includes at this point 3 major national retailers or corporations. Due to legal things in our code, we need to massage the applications a little more and look at perhaps our approach to the project. And a lot of the changes that we are looking at would take place under what is now item 6.1, which is the rezoning, and just making sure that we are wording the addition of uses in that section of the code that does not turn off national retailers. And there's just some antiquated old language that goes back to maybe when the town wasn't so open to development. So we are going to be asking for approval to withdraw all 5 applications, or we're going to defer, I'm sorry. We are going to defer, which is a continuance. We're going to defer all 5 applications to the next meeting. And we're going to come back with it's. You're going to keep all the papers I sent you. The staff reports are going to change, but the plans won't change. So save everything, and then when I have the new information, I will let you know what you can throw out. Basically, you'll be able to throw out all of the memos when you get the new ones, and but the plans don't change. And it's really just like I said. The developers, we speak frequently, and we've been happily moving forward. They are doing their private due diligence, and some of the attorneys for some of the corporations were like, well, we don't like that language. That's not something we do. So we're just going to make sure that we make everyone comfortable, because we, from a staff perspective, we want this to happen. So if there's consensus from the board, we would like to defer all of these. Now, we would like to do what we call to a date and time certain, which means it's going to happen at this time, and it's not something that's just going to linger out there. That's important, again, to keep these prospective tenants understanding that we are working with them. The applicant has requested that we have a meeting in 2 weeks, so it would be 2 Thursdays from tonight, which would be the 21st. So if you all can take a quick moment and look at your personal calendars and let us know if that works, we'll then make the motion. I'll help you word the motion properly. Is that 2 weeks from today?
Is that Thursday as well?
Yes. Yes, Susie. Oh, I thought you were gonna. It is the 21st, correct? Yeah. When I looked earlier, that was in my mind. Yeah.
The 21st.
Is that everyone available the 21st?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so if someone, I will say the motion, and if someone, you can either repeat what I say, or you can say what she said. It works. We do it all the time. So the motion would be to defer items 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5 to Thursday, October 21st at 6 p.m. So if someone will make
Yes.
that motion, what Sharice said, what I said. That's the motion. And do we have a second? Okay. Can the chair second? I don't think the chair can second in Robert rules.
I second.
Okay, thank you.
So who was, I'm sorry, I missed the first. Was
I
it-
first.
Okay. And then it was Renisha, right?
Yes.
Yes. So now we say all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. So my next item, usually it's not going to be like this, but it's important this time, is to do another addition, which would be 8.2. And that's that the applicant would still like to make a presentation to you tonight. So you will not be voting on anything, but they are anxious to share the project with you and answer any questions you may have. And I think it's a great idea. The staff, we think it's a great idea. So that way, while we're massaging all that legal stuff, if there is something of a concern in the design or anything else, they're hearing directly from you, and we can address it before the next meeting. So if that's okay, we would like to add 8.2 to the agenda. Yes? Thank you. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 That's what Susie's here for, to keep us.
In check.
So Madam Chair, that we are already at the end of the agenda, believe it or not. Isn't that funny how that happens? So we have no old business, and new business would be 8.1, which would be the appointment of a vice chair. So if you want to take it on, Madam Chair.
For section
8.1, a naming of a vice chair, if someone wants to volunteer or nominate. So Ms. Cologne has volunteered. Anyone else interested in being vice chair? No? So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're welcome. So Ms. Cologne will now be the vice chair. And then 8.2 is a presentation by the applicant. And I'm going to help them go through the PowerPoint, so I'm going to jump over there, but I'm still available if you need me for questions. Susie, can you bring up the other one?
If I may remove my mask from here?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I was fogging up.
I hope everybody here is vaccinated. I'm getting my third one tomorrow.
I am.
Yeah, I'm getting my third tomorrow.
Yep. Okay. Good evening. And for the record, my name is Brian Adler with law offices of Bills and Sundberg, 1450 Brickell Avenue, Suite 2300. And I'm joined here this evening by Jeff Zito on behalf of Southeast Investments, which is an affiliate of Ferber. And we're going to go to Ferber a lot during the hearing. First, just let me welcome you all as board members and thank you for coming this evening thank you for allowing us, even though we're going to take a deferral, to have the opportunity to present to you this evening. Chair Brown, I know you sat in traffic to come here this evening, and so we thought it might be a good idea to actually go through the proposed development and the presentation. It may make next month or in 2 weeks a little bit smoother and easier as we go through. So Ferber Construction, and I'm going to go into them and the Ferber Company a little bit later, but I want to let you know first up front that this is an entity that's been around for over 100 years. They have developed over 3 million square feet of retail and other uses, and very heavy in the state of Florida. Jeff's office is in Singer Island, very heavy in the state of Florida, but also in New Jersey, South Carolina, Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, and another state that you may know, Virginia. So they are also in Virginia as well. So they've been up and down. So this is not a new entity, and I'm going to go into why that is important a little bit later. They develop from fast food enterprises to grocery stores to pharmacies to gasoline stations. They've developed themselves, I think, 30 Wawas that they've developed. So a lot of different entities and Starbucks and a lot of different type of client developments. Thank you. So we're here tonight on what we consider a very exciting project and something that's going to reactivate a site that's been vacant and, if you will, covered with a construction fence for quite some time. And you see where it is. The address is 3195 West Hallandale Beach Boulevard. It's on the corner of Seneca Park, which is 32nd Avenue, and Hallandale Beach Boulevard. This is an over 6-acre site in the town. And there was a development on there at some point that was going to go forward. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, know the site. It is got a green construction fence, and it has had a green construction fence for a long time. Ferber is a contract purchaser of the site, so they are not the prior developer. They're not the ones who were there before. They're here to try and activate this site and to turn it from what you see today, which is that barren site that's calling for redevelopment, turning it from this vacant site into an active site that will be provide services to the community and, importantly, generate revenues, because right now it's not really generate tax revenues for the town. It will generate high tax revenues for the site for the town. So Seneca Park, and this is one of the two main entrances to Seneca Park that you see. It's on the corner of 32nd and Seneca Boulevard. And I'm going to go into that a little bit shortly as we go forward. I want to go through, if you will, the site plan. And the site plan, we have worked, Ferber, before they came to the town, has been working on the site plan, working with Broward County, working with Florida Department of Transportation, really trying to come up with a site plan that makes sense on the site and provides the least amount of impact and the maximum amount of benefits. And we came forward and we met with the town early on in this process before filing. And we were listening to what the town wanted. Ferber wants to hear what the town wants, et cetera. And we filed, but that was not the end of it. What you see tonight and what I'm going to go through tonight is a culmination of many, many meetings and changes that were created in response to your town's comments and to the feedback that the town has given to come up with a development that I think both Ferber and the town would be extremely proud of. I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, this is the proposed site plan that's on the site. At the end, what you see here today, and what I want to point out just at first blush, is look at the perimeter of the site. So think about what you see now as you're driving on Hallandale Beach Boulevard, and now look at what you're going to be seeing as you go along. And we're going to get to the rendering of that after. But what you see is heavy landscaping and heavy greenery. At the end of the day, what has come together is a site that's going to, and if you can, I'm going to go through some of the site highlights. One is attracting quality national users. So this is a site, quality national users are looking for sites and are looking for development that they also want to be proud of. And so this is something that we're creating something, well, Ferber is creating something, and I'm just here to assist. And Ferber's creating something. Ferber works with a lot of the national retailers. They know what they want. So the first thing is, on the far western side corner is going to be a gasoline station and a convenience store. The convenience store is a little over 5,000 or so square feet, 5,500, 5,600, I think, square feet. And what you have is the gasoline station on the pump islands in front of it. Next to that is, and I'm going to go through each of these shortly and highlighting each one separately. Next to it is the fast food restaurant. and that's going to be a drive-through fast food facility. Next to that is the open slate right now. Ferber is actually is reaching out and has some interest from a few different things. And so what you'll see is that's got some open questions on it. Could be either a retail, could be a bank, could be another restaurant, could be a medical office. Those are things that we're going to, and so if we go, you'll see that could be, and you see it's got a few things. Once we secure the others, which are pretty much secured, then the others we know come in. And the final one is a self-storage facility on the easternmost site. And again, I want you to think about what you see as you drive by and then what you're going to see as we go forward. Right now, remember the industrial park behind is mostly blank buildings and blank walls. And so we're going to get to that shortly. And I'm going to also go through the traffic circulation that's going to be created on here and how it's going to be dealt with on the site, and as well as pedestrian access. So if we can go to the next slide. There are going to be, if you see, and if we can go through, there's going to be, and we'll stop here. First, you'll see there are 4 uses. There are only 2 main entrances on Hallandale Beach Boulevard. A lot of thought went into trying to create a site that was the least impactful on Hallandale Beach Boulevard. One is going to be creating a new left turn lane in on the eastern site, and a drive on the eastern site. And the next will be a turn lane next will be an additional driveway on the western side. Additionally, on the western side on Seneca Boulevard is an additional entrance that's going to be created. And then you'll see that there are 3 entrances and exits in the rear. Why is that important? This is Seneca Park, and there's an industrial park that's behind there. There's a lot of users in that park, and by creating it like this and creating the 3 entrances in the rear, especially with a gasoline station and some uses that are serving the community and the industrial community in the rear, what you have is the ability for the industrial park users, the workers, the tenants, or the visitors, as they're leaving, to actually enter into the site from within Seneca Park and never having to actually go out onto Hallandale Beach Boulevard and creating additional trips onto Hallandale Beach Boulevard. So when I say a lot of thought has gone into this site plan, a lot of thought has gone into trying to, again, create the least impact on the area. Now, with that, as we all know today, Seneca Park is 2 lanes, Seneca Boulevard. As you're heading south, it is 2 lanes currently where that yellow highlight is. And so when you have a truck or the trucks, that's a Publix truck, you have Amazon trucks, you have other trucks going. When they want to turn left or go straight, it's the same lane and they share the same lane. What that means is if a truck is waiting to turn left and there's oncoming traffic and they can't turn, you're having vehicles back up Seneca Boulevard. What we are proposing and what Ferber's agreed to and worked out with Florida Department of Transportation is to actually create a left turn, if we can go forward again.
That's too early.
There's going to be a new lane. So what you're going to actually have is a dedicated turn lane. And this is actually going to be a dramatic improvement to make sure not only that we're actually creating a better situation than what's there today, but that our impacts are absorbed. So everything has been done to really try and absorb the impacts internally into the site and to not impact Hallandale Beach Boulevard. So now vehicles that want to head south across Hallandale Beach Boulevard have their own lane, and turn lanes will have a fully dedicated lane. In addition, right now, if you drive in front of the site, you'll see there's nowhere to turn. They are creating what are called deceleration lanes, 2 lanes, so that if you're heading westbound on Hallandale Beach Boulevard, what you see is the ability now for cars that are going to go into the site, any vehicles going into the site, to actually pull into the deceleration lane. What does that do? It allows them to slow down in the deceleration lane and not impede traffic that's traversing across and that wants to go straight on Hallandale Beach Boulevard. So those are some major traffic improvements, and then you see the additional turn lane that's going to come in. So what they're doing, and this is something FDOT is extremely appreciative of, and we've been working with the town on, is they've taken a step back and said, okay, this is what's existing today. This is what we want to come in with, and how can we make it better? And so what will end up being is a through lane for Seneca Boulevard with a straight, a left, and a right turn dedicated lanes, and 2 deceleration lanes, not 4 driveways for 4 uses, 2 driveways for 4 uses. And then what that leads to, if you can go to the next slide, is a improved circulation throughout the entire site, both from a vehicular standpoint. So we've got deceleration cars coming in, so cars don't feel as rushed to make a turn if someone's coming behind them. It's a safer way of turning, so that pedestrians that are walking across the sidewalk are not trying to dodge from a vehicle. And also, there's pedestrian connectivity throughout the site, and that's something that your town has worked. So we've presented plans we've worked through, and we've created a site that's now got pedestrian connectivity as well from the sidewalks into the sites. Next slide. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through the 4 different uses and the architecture, because that's something that we have actually worked also very much with the town on. The first one we're going to start with is the far left, which is the gasoline station and convenience store. And if you can go to the next slide. So this is the architecture that's going to be on the western side, and it's going to be a proposed gas station and convenience store. And we're working with a brand that this is their style, and it's actually very nice. You'll see there's stone features and there's stone highlights even at the pumps, and then a parapet and nice, and this is what the pump islands look like. So if, you see there's stone features that are featured on the pump islands, very, very attractive pump islands. And next slide is going to be the fast food restaurant. And we've worked with, Ferber has worked with many of these entities in the past and has the ability to reach out to them and say, you know what, the standard site plan and the standard coloring and the standard architectural features that you do, we want to do something different and we want to match it throughout the site. And so this is what they've come up with on the site to create a color palette and to create something that's very attractive that flows through the entire site. So this is going to be the fast food restaurant. As I mentioned, the next site is not defined yet, but the architecture is, and it has to be in accordance with this architecture. And so what they're seeking is, again, carrying through this themed architecture as they go through. You see the parapets, the metal roof styles, and what you're not looking at is blank walls, which is very traditional of retail and other uses. The last one is the self-storage facility, and this is the one that we have worked very extensively with the town on to create a building that is something to be proud of. If you look at this building and you're driving by and you didn't see the name on top of the building, you'd say, oh, that's a nice office building. And so think about what's behind that now and what you'll be facing. What you have here is, this was a culmination of a lot of going back and forth and different designs and submitting something. It's not good enough. Submitting something, and Ferber also working with the national retailers to say, you got to do better. This has to be a site that you can point, that people will point to and say, that's the one that you should look like. And that's something that the town has been wanting. So this is something that they've created. And what's great about this facility is self-storage facilities, when they're looking at traffic, it's based on the traffic manuals and the number of trips that are generated. This site, self-storage facilities generate one of the lowest traffic impacts on any community. They're very low, and especially on the AM, PM peak hours. That's not when people would go. It would be early, getting ornaments from the self-storage facility and different things, and then going back. So it's actually a very low traffic generator, but it's a good revenue generator for the town because it's going to be a very nice building that they're going to pay taxes on, and those taxes are going to inure to the benefit of the town. So I call that the gravy, which is you've got a site that's beautiful. You're no longer looking at the blank walls. And if we can go to the next slide. This is something where they created a building, and you see that's the west elevation and the north elevation. So what is the west elevation? If you're heading east on Hallandale Beach Boulevard, this is not just the front facade that they've created a beautiful building, but they've created a building that from where you're driving from, you're going to see a beautiful building. The north elevation is what's behind the building that's facing what's now the blank walls of the industrial park. So if you drive by, you see blank walls. Now you're going to see this type of building and this type and the architectural features that make it look like an office building, a very attractive office building. If you or even with the little areas that look like French balconies, it could almost look like a nice residential or an office area to go by. And so if you go to the next slide, that's what the site will look like. And then if you can go one more, this is what you'll see as you're driving. And so at the end of the day, together, these all culminate. So this is not a separate building and a separate building and a separate building and a separate building. It's a cohesive site development plan where the architecture has to flow together with, and you can see based on the plan that's down here and then what it's coming to, extensive landscaping. So the buildings can be set back. Some of the buildings, I think, have a minimum setback of 10 feet or so. The buildings are really set back. I think the closest is 60-something and 70-something to allow space for several things. One is extensive landscaping in the front. The second is allowing the throats for we've been working with Broward and with the town and with FDOT to make sure that the pull-in, when you pull out from the deceleration lane and you pull in, there's enough distance so the circulation works and for pedestrian flow. And so what you've got is a site that's turning basically the barren site that's there today into an extremely attractive development that we think the town will be proud of and which Ferber is proud of. So I've mentioned Ferber a few times, and let me just go. So I've said that Ferber has been around since 1907, I think is the date. So 114 years they've been around. They've done 3 million square feet of development. This is one sheet, and we're not going to go through all, but this, you can see what they do. These are completed projects, okay? And why do I bring that up? You've got a site that's got rebar sticking up. You've got a site that's got a construction fence, and that has been like this for a while. And you've got an entity with a proven track record. And so we think it's the right site. We think it's the right mix of uses. And we definitely think you've got the right developer to come in and to turn what's essentially this barren site into an active site that as you drive by, you will not see that green. It's going to provide services. The Wawa will have a fast food, a restaurant, not even fast food. They're known for their subs quite a bit, and a little outside area even with it. These are some of the brands that they develop and nationally. And as I mentioned, they've done like 30 Wawas. Ferber has done 30 Wawas or completed at this point, and others in the works. So I think they're the right developer, but they have a proven track record. And what we want to do is take the site that, again, is not really producing much for the town and turning into something that's going to produce services, allow for services, produce tax revenues, and really be a great addition to the town. And I want to thank the town for working with us. And I have to go back and say one thing and correct something. It's the town who said they want it to be where if someone drives by, they say, that's the one. Go look at that one, and the one in Pembroke Park. So that's the one they've got. So I misstated before that's something that we're looking at. That's something they want, meaning they put us to the test to make sure that we came up with something, not the first iteration, not the second, not the third, but something that is something they said, now you've got it. So with that, I thank you so much for the time this evening, and I apologize for the deferral, but Ferber especially wanted to make sure it was not a waste of your time coming out this evening and that we had an opportunity to present. And if you have questions, we are here to answer questions if there's anything you think I left out. Okay. And if not, you can have the questions. So tonight, as Ms. Siegel noted, it is not a vote, but we're happy to answer questions and come back with information that you may need. So, and with that, I thank you. So.
Yeah, I have a few questions. As a quick comment, I really like the architecture. It's a huge step forward in the local architecture. So I have no objections to that. On the contrary, I did when I studied the plans yesterday. I had a few things, but it looks like you already trying to address it. That was with traffic. One thing that I was thinking of, because I use Seneca Boulevard myself, and that sometimes in the late afternoon, the evening, you can sit and wait 5 minutes for the lights, and there's no traffic. And if there was possible for us to have like a sensor in the road that will change the light so you can get into Hallandale Beach Boulevard.
So that's all, the traffic lights are controlled by Broward County.
That's the county, yeah.
Yeah, and that's separate from this application. So I can definitely have them look at that once it's up and running. But as far as any design,
It's really to avoid a huge backlog of traffic down Seneca Boulevard, and it might facilitate at certain times of day. I mean, in heavy traffic on Hallandale, you'll just have to wait your pattern, the traffic pattern.
Understood. I'll try to answer you a little bit from what I know. Jeff Zito, for the record, with Southeast Investments, which is the applicant, and obviously with Ferber Company. So answer your question. FDOT actually acknowledges that as an issue on Seneca. Their intent is they wanted us to put this turn lane in southbound to go onto Hallandale Beach Boulevard so that they could adjust the timing of that signal. I've been told, I don't want to promise it, but I've been told that they're looking at doing improvements to that signal because that is a known problem, but they can't do that without us putting in that turn lane. So we were kind of their saving grace because there is no, they can't force the industrial park to put that in, it's private property. So we agreed to do that, and frankly, it's good for our retailers and it's good for the community, so it was not an issue for us to do that. So hopefully after our turn lane is built for you, you will see some adjustments to that signal timing.
Thank you.
And as we mentioned, that's something that FDOT really had wanted, was this turn lane. So in working with them, I think they're very excited about it. As excited as FDOT gets, right?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to compliment on including the industrial area and making them feel. Oh, I said I would like to compliment on you having the 3 accesses in the back for the industrial and making them feel like welcomed and appreciated and not blocked off like, a lot of other buildings would do, and access, and still coming around. And Hallandale has been a main issue with traffic for many, many years. I mean, it's 2 lanes, back and forth, and it's just, we can only do so much, and I think you guys are really doing a great job with that.
Thank you. And the industrial park, with those 3, a lot of these services will be used. So imagine people in the industrial park that need gas. They are able to come in. Those are called recapture trips. They're already on the road. So somebody is already on the road. They're in the industrial park. They come into the site. They're not adding additional trips to the road. They're on the road. We've just created a more convenient location for them to go in and then not have to stop again or create additional trips on the road. And they can get gas and go right back out into the industrial park. Go to the restaurant, which I know everyone will be excited, in the industrial park to have a restaurant to be able to access. So thank you.
Quick question with the restaurant. Is that drive-through, or is that a walk-up restaurant for people?
It is a drive-through restaurant
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
But there's eat-in as well, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, it is both. So.
Thank you.
And just if I may, our code regulates and requires a certain distance for the stacking lanes. And that's
Okay.
Something we've worked with them on to make sure that traffic does not back up onto Hallandale Beach Boulevard
That was my
when
next
Okay, yeah,
question.
when
that
the new sandwich is released and those type of things. Yes, that was day one I started that concern with them. So.
Okay.
And you can see it's pushed back. There's extra, it's longer. It's only supposed to be 100 feet around the building. Theirs is a little longer. It's delineated on your plans as well.
Perfect.
Yep.
I think that was my main
I
concern
figured that's
with
where
the
you were
traffic.
going. Yep.
Okay.
Is that a 2, like a 2 window, or is it just one? It's just one?
Yeah.
But I believe you have it drawn as 2 lanes that merge into one window. And
Oh, okay, that's what I'm looking
yes,
at.
so that helps with that congestion that we're worried about. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question, and that's more a little bit into the future, but it looks like more and more of these electric charging stations for cars popping up. I see them now at Walmart, and they come in other places. Is that something you've been pre-planning for, or is it even possible?
It's a great question. Wawa actually, if you've been to, I think most Wawas now, when they first open, they may not have them, but they actually have an agreement with Tesla to put in charging stations. Now, Tesla identifies where they think they need them. That's their animal. They know their customer better than anyone. But Wawa does have an agreement with them to allow them to put in charging stations at their stores. I don't know for certain that this is one they've identified, but we do show an area or plan for an area on the northwest corner of the site that would allow for that if they chose to.
Thank you.
He gets all the tough questions. And I still leave hungry every time we go.
Oh, I have more tough questions. No, I was looking through all the emergency plans for like oil spill and so forth, and everything looks good, but it's not very specified how you could clean a potential oil spill up. It just says it will be done in timely manner. But I looked at the drainage system and I didn't recognize any oil separator. Is that something that the code requires you to have, or how does that work?
I'll answer you from a user standpoint. So Wawa actually has a third party that monitors their systems. It's very advanced. They actually know if there's a drop of fuel coming out of their tanks or even the pumps. So they're alerted right away. It actually goes to the store, and then they would be able to shut that down essentially immediately. From a code standpoint, the state does regulate if there is a spill or if there is something. The state has pretty stringent requirements. One of the things we're actually doing on this site, which I don't know if it's in your report or not, but we're actually cleaning up some environmental issues that from the previous development. There were some oil drums that had spilled from the previous contractor, so we're going to be removing that soil. There's also a known regional groundwater just issue. It's very common in South Florida that we're addressing. So we're actually handling the current issues. I think your question is more for the future, but as I mentioned, that's very heavily regulated, and Wawa's probably the best in the business at identifying issues ahead of time so that there is no massive, cleanup effort.
Yeah, I understand it because I just see, because we have a super site right on Carolina Street, and we get all these documentations because I live on Park Road there, and I see all the documentation and the cleanup, and it's a little bit scary when you see what was in the past. I mean, I know we have a lot stricter laws today, but you don't want that to happen to the local environment.
100% agree with you, and I think we've submitted about 30 days ago to Broward County Environmental Department. They're reviewing that, like I said, the existing issues, and we're taking care of that. But future, I mean, like I said, that's regulated by the state, not even the county necessarily or the town. So.
Well, thank you.
And if I may, a lot of the old sites, so we're under old regulations, and that's one area where the state, and they step in because they don't want individual towns being in charge of those type of regulations. And the regulations have gotten stricter, but the equipment has gotten better. They didn't have ways of monitoring, like Jeff said before. Many moons ago, when I first started, I did gasoline station cleanups, and there was before there were double wall tanks and all the other things. So yeah, and I've been involved in Superfund sites, and you're right, you don't want it. But not only does the town not want, these are things that Wawa doesn't want, or any gas station doesn't want. And I think they've gotten a lot better in their equipment and their monitoring. And so I knock wood on that.
So is there a end of lifetime plan for demolishing this place? I mean, I know I come from Europe. That's why I ask these irritating questions. But over there, a gas station have to put away a certain percentage of their profit every year into a fund that will then cover all the cleanup once the end of the lifetime of the installation. And then, of course, if there's any leftovers, the company gets that money. Is there anything else like that in place in Florida?
So there's not a reserve fund that Wawa puts into necessarily and says, hey, if we go away, we clean this up. I guess I'd answer it this way, that anybody that gets a permit for a tank obviously has to get a license to operate it as well. So they're regulated yearly, have to get inspections. If they just went bankrupt, that's where the super fund would come into play if there was ever an issue. But essentially, if they decide to close business, it's their license. If they ever want to do it again, they'd have to remove that tank and clean it up properly. Thank you.
Yeah, and the state of Florida has this is something they monitor heavily, and they rank sites. So if it's a small spill, if a site is near a water supply and it's a heavy site, and it's a heavy spill, they'll rank it higher. There's different rankings they do to ensure based on the safety, et cetera. So.
Thank you.
No more tough questions.
No, no, I hope that wasn't too tough. I'm not trying to be tough because I really want to see this go ahead. I really like the architecture of it. So,
No, I'm
that's
kidding.
that's my job to ask those questions.
And these are the ones I say, I'm glad Jeff's here.
Anything else from the board? No? Okay. I think this was a great way for you all to get an introduction to the project. Next time when it comes back, it will be more technical. We'll be talking about the ordinance, those legal issues. They will still, because we want to make sure we follow procedures, processes, and regulations, they will do this presentation again. So you'll see it again. They might incorporate some of what you discussed tonight for the record. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. So if there's nothing else, if you want to ask for a motion for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment.
Aye.
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 Thank you again for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, Susie.